So, this is your host, Steve from the back, coming at you again, raw and unscripted, and I'm doing a new thing on this channel now, you guys. Basically, what the new thing is I'm doing videos, but I'm doing videos that basically should be able to be monetized. Yeah, monetized to the effect that they are family friendly now, okay? And I'm sticking to my word. You know. Normally I do videos, and I'll admit the humor is there. Now the humor is always there because I like to think myself to be a comedian, not an actual comedian, but you know, obviously I'm always making jokes. I'm always doing pranks. I'm just that type of person. But I realized that YouTube, for something to be monetized, needs to have certain qualifications. And with that being said, it only makes sense that if possible, you may make a video where you keep it clean and you make it to where it is family friendly. So that's exactly what I've been doing. And that's not the norm. that's not the norm, you guys. For me, that's not the norm. Now, you guys, if you've been on this channel and you've seen content, you know, let's just be honest, you know that I give, how to say, you know that I don't really tippy-toe around. That's how I'll say it. I don't tiptoe around with things I say on this channel. I'll just put it like that. You know, and my humor is pretty much reckless. Let's just be honest. It's reckless. You know, it's funny to me, but it's just crazy. You know what I mean? Because that's just my sense of humor. But you know, that's really beside the point. Really, this is just going to be a cryptid video, but this is going to be me basically talking about my opinions on some things that I believe. Now, these are just theoretical. This is not, no one can really prove this, but this is just some things that I believe. Because from what I've gathered from listening to people's eyewitness accounts, and this is mostly going to be, it's not just going to be on the dogman. I did a little, like, primitive sketch or whatever of a dogman, and what I basically wanted to talk about is something that, because this is the way that I look at cryptids, right? I look at cryptids like how do I say this? Basically, I look at cryptids the way that, like, how scientists analyzes, like, how, let's say how scientists analyzes animals, right? And this is not like this is not really true science, and this is bro science, okay? This is just layman science, but this is just how I look at things. Now, when you analyze something, you sometimes analyze something and you look at all the differences between two or more or however many things, right? You look at the differences. I know this is long-winded, and I apologize. But you look at things and you try to pick out what's the main differences between all these things, right? Like serious differences. And you may even still find things that are eerily similar through all of those differences, which is a thing with cryptids. You also may look at the first thing I actually do is I don't look at that. I look at the first thing I look at is I look at what are all of the similarities between all of these cryptids. Just like with people, like you look at people and you look at their behaviors and you look at where they go, you look at the people they hang out with, you look at the things they choose to do, you analyze them under a microscope, you look at like what is the common connection between all of this? Like what is actually really what's going on? You know what I mean? So you get a better idea of a basis, basically, like a sort of broad basis of an idea, and from that you can easily gather information. You know, you can actually gather more information than you'd think. You know what I mean? So that's how I look at things. That's how I analyze everything. So with cryptids, it's the same thing. I look at it like, okay, what are all the common occurrences and common occurrences that seem to be repeated throughout and throughout, either whether that's eyewitness accounts, whether that's through folklore, legends, tales. What are all of the what's this common denominator, whatever you want to call it? What is this common theme that's always running over and over and over? I try to nail that down to some degree, and then from there I come up with not I really don't feel like saying a theory, because that would be dumb to just say like a just blatantly a theory, but no, but I have ideas. Like I have ideas, and to me, because these things seem to reoccur so much, it seems to be proven to a degree, in my mind at least. I could be wrong, but I don't think that I'm wrong. You know what I mean? Because it seems to repeat itself too many times. Same thing, like I say, with anything else, with people, places, things. And you analyze something long enough, and you seem to keep coming to the same conclusion, and you're actually seeing it, like proof, like, which is easier said with people, because we don't live in a world where we see cryptids all the time, but you live in a world in society where you see people all the time. So people have habits, people are repetitive. So you see things, and you start to gather information, get an understanding of what's actually going on. Um, this is really what I mean. So with all that long-winded stuff that I just was talking about, the rant, this video is about the what I call the blown up hand syndrome. You know what I mean? That's what I call it. I call it the blown up hand syndrome. And what that is like, a lot of these cryptids. Now, I'll take it back to like known animals we know of. Like we know of primates. We know if you compare a human hand to a primate hand, the first thing you notice is that relatively sized to the rest of that primate's body, they have very, very large and long hands. Like abnormally long. The space between like the thumb and where the fingers start is usually there's a lot of space there. It seems abnormally elongated. It's very long, broad, and it just seems cartoonish in a way, like just blown up out of proportion. Hands, you know what I mean, and then feet as well. And that connects to the wrist, and that also, with the feet it connects to the ankle, and you're thinking like, well, it makes sense when you think of it, because you have to think that like there's variations of these cryptids, right? Like there's a lot of differences. There's variations. Um, just like people talk about like the feet. You talk about a long foot, which is basically not necessarily truly a hawk foot, but it's a foot that's so long that when the thing stands up on its balls, it appears to be a hawk. It's not that hard to understand. Okay, it's like you kind of get it's very easy to get the idea. It's kind of like you think of a literal like a clown shoe almost. I know that's a dumb analogy, but think of like a clown shoe. And this thing is standing up on its balls of its feet with a very clown shoe-like foot, literally a foot that's just that long and just abnormally long for some reason. Um, but it makes sense because when you really narrow down what's going on, you understand that these creatures are designed to walk like a person, but they're all also designed to climb. They're also designed to scurry. They're designed to run. They're designed to do all the things that like a primate or something else does on all fours, but also to walk around for extended periods like a person does. And then you think of like the hands. You know, these things have to grasp things. They do a lot of climbing, obviously. They do a lot of hanging, brachiating. They do all these things, primate like things. And someone would say, well, it doesn't make sense for a canine like being or canine to be doing to be doing all those things. But here's where you're absolutely wrong. Now, if you've witnessed, like for instance, what is this thing called? Now, if you, I don't want to butcher the name, but if you ever witnessed what they call a Belgian Melanese dog, especially trained, like by law enforcement most likely, that dog will run up walls. That dog will climb trees. That dog will scurry itself up a tree. Will climb on branches. That dog will do things that you didn't know a dog could basically do. You know what I mean? That dog will basically, I'm not going to say out parkour a person, but that dog will be so adept at maneuvering in ways that you don't think a dog will do. Now, just picture this. Just picture a canine that is primate and person-like. Obviously can outdo a person and a primate and a dog. You know what I mean? That's really what's going on. So, when you really look at this, right? When you really analyze what's going on, you realize why these cryptids are the way they are. You realize that the anatomy is something that is completely different to anything we know in science because it's pretty much like a Frankenstein. It's pretty much a combination of attributes that like it doesn't it's not something that we know of. Like we know of it through knowledge, but we don't. It's not like documented for at least for the public. That's the way I can put it. You know, it's not something that generally the public knows that we're supposed to know about. Um, so like yeah, there's people who know about this and documented these things, but it's hidden. It's a cover up all the time. So um, but that's all I'm really saying. I'm just saying that like it's something that's incredibly simple to understand, and it doesn't really. It's incredibly matter of fact and very nonchalant, but it's something that I feel like is hard for people to want to believe for psychological reasons. Okay, um, people don't want to believe it, but that's what's going on, and you know when I really started thinking about this is when I first heard of the like the real story, not the. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but not all the misinformation about the LBL story. The real LBL Beyond Lakes incident. If you really listen to the real story of that, you realize when they describe these dogmen exactly what's going on, and you realize that's a very specific type of dogman that they're talking about. Um, and again, this is one of those things where they talk about like it's not really a hawk, it's just an elongated foot. The blown up hands, the cartoonish hands, they're like much larger than any hand is really supposed to be on anything, which makes sense. You got to understand, like something like this is climbing a lot, and when I say climbing, I don't mean like your grandma climbing. I mean like literally a tree with no branches, and This thing is grasping whatever surface it can, and it is pulling it. It is scurrying and launching itself up, straight up poles. Let's just call it a pole because it doesn't need to be a tree. Just pretty much anything that this thing can grip. This thing is scurrying itself. It's scurrying itself up surfaces and things, trees, things like that, in that type of way. Clearly, that's what's going on, and that's one of the reasons why you can tell that when they found the creature dead in the tree. Some people think that, oh, they got misinformation. They say, oh no, it was the little girl was found dead in the tree, torn up. No, one of the creatures was found dead in a tree, shot dead, because when they brought in law enforcement to deal with it, whatever law enforcement type that they had to bring in to do that, they shot one of the things, and the thing obviously scurried up in a tree and then died. If you get shot, obviously, if you get shot and you climb up in a tree, like you're probably going to die later, and you're going to die in some strange position up in whatever, hungover, slumped, whatever, wherever you climbed up and you are, like anything else would. You know what I mean? So this is what I mean. It's so simple. It's nothing that you can't imagine. It's nothing that isn't common sense in a way, really, when you think of it. Anyone seen an orangutan climb up a tree? It's like, duh. You ever seen an orangutan's hands? You already can look at it and see its hands are cartoonishly huge. You know, and that is why. You know, you have to understand these cryptids. The first thing that's making contact with anything is their hands. That's the first thing. Most likely, they're putting their hands on the ground. Their fingers are on the ground. This may sound cartoonish, but this is just the honest truth. Over many instances, these things have been known to crawl on their fingers. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but that's the thing. They're crawling on their fingers. What I mean is, they're so low to the ground that their stomach is touching the ground. Their arms are so long that they can base their arms out. Their stomach can still literally, like belly button, can touch the ground, and they can put all of their weight on just their fingers. It sounds crazy, but this is what they're doing. And they can move across the ground very fast, like lightning fast, in those type of positions. It's just on their fingers. Now, it sounds crazy, but this is a thing, okay? This is not a normal thing, but this is a thing. This is a recurring thing in these cryptids, okay? This is a thing. The scurrying across the ground, like the Grinch, or like the Grinch. You guys have all seen the, he's on the ground, his belly to the ground, literal belly on the ground. Now, no one can, a person can't really do this because simply your arms aren't long enough. That's the first thing. No human's arms are long enough in proportion to do that. Also, no person's hands are that large in proportion to anything to be able to be really doing that. No, you know, people can do finger push-ups and all that, but it's not nothing like that. No, I mean, I'm talking about something literally sprinting, belly crawling, fast. Like when I say fast, I mean like a roach, shooting across the ground on their fingers. This is a thing. It sounds crazy. It sounds cartoonish, but let me tell you, this is a thing. Um, these things move in cartoonish fashion. It's like nothing. It's like nothing people really know. And I'm gonna close here. Now the thing is, these things are amazing in the fact that they're able to do things in a way that people just can't. That you just can't. Because they're just different. So this is something that it's intimidating. Let's just be honest, you guys. It's very scary. It's very intimidating. Um, it's a very intimidating thing. And one thing I'll say is I never recommend anyone going out and trying to hunt these things. That's one thing I'll say. I don't think it's a bad thing if people want to have a sighting of something like this, because in my opinion you're just brave. You know what I mean? That doesn't I don't think it makes you stupid. I think it makes you brave. Like I would basically give you props for that. Like, because that means you're a brave person. You know what I mean? You have a lot of courage. Um, but I think where the line should be drawn, and this is just my opinion, I think where the line should be drawn with this is where I don't think you should try to film these things, because they have made it clear to people, and they have various ways of doing this. They have made it clear that they do not want to be filmed. They're intelligent enough to understand what that is. Like, they do not want to be filmed. They do not want to be seen. They don't. They want to do what they're doing. And they want people to mind their own business. That's what it is. So I don't recommend you guys going out and um trying to capture like footage. Trying to. I don't recommend that by any means. I think that's insulting, because they don't want that. And you know that if someone doesn't want to be followed, one of the most dangerous things you can, I'll just have to say this. This is the honest truth. One of the most dangerous things you can ever do is try to bother a person who wants to be left alone, or an animal. That's one of the most dangerous things you can ever do. I'll repeat that again. It's to try to mess with someone who does not want to be bothered. It's just don't. That could be the difference between you living and you not living. That could be the difference between you coming into an area and leaving, and you never leaving. You know what I mean? So you guys, that's common sense though. It's like, would you go to the zoo and you don't walk, you don't go into the cage where chimpanzees are? No, they'll probably tear you limb from limb. You're not making out. Um, that's just the way that is. Like, it's the same thing with anything else. So I would say, if you're gonna go in there, you're going in at your own risk. That's just how it is. You're going in at your own risk, and that means for anything. That means that whether you just want to have a sighting, whether you that's anything, because they may not want you even in there at all. And I'm getting the idea over years that they're territorial, and they don't want they don't want you in their areas. Period. That's how I feel. Like, they don't want us in their areas. They don't want us going where they go. They just don't want that for whatever reason. Now, sometimes it's different. Sometimes they're welcoming people, which is odd, but sometimes they actually do have no problem with whatever certain people for whatever reason, and they will welcome people in, and they won't be aggressive or violent. But that's more or less, I feel like, much less than it is a thing. So, my thing is, this is like, yes, I feel like you should respect these beings. Like, you should respect them. You should not have ill will or ill intentions towards them. But you also should not be stupid enough to just how do I say this? To outwear your welcome. Like, I feel like when you do that, that's when you know. And I will also say, if you're a spiritual person, this is my opinion. No one has to listen to anything I'm saying. If you do want to go to try to find where these things are, and you want to try to do this, make sure that your intentions are pure. Like, make sure that you don't have any truly evil intentions, or even if it's not evil, just like, don't be thinking, oh, I'm going to get something on video. I'm going to have proof of this thing, and I'm going to try to bring this out to people. But, I mean, I don't really think that's a good idea. And it's not, because, like I said, they don't want that. Now, I feel like if you're just trying to communicate with these things, that's a pure intention. Like, you simply want to communicate with them, or you just want to try to convey to them that you don't mean them harm. And it's kind of silly, because it's like, really, you couldn't hurt this thing. you couldn't hurt this thing if you really wanted to. You know what I mean? Like, maybe obviously with the right weaponry and whatever, yeah. But you as a person, us as people, you're not touching this thing. This thing will rip a person in pieces. So it's kind of funny to say that, but you get I think they get the point. Like you're like any other thing, you're trying to convey to them that your intentions are good. You're not trying to impress anything on them that they are not wanting. You know. So, with that being said, this is my take on this. I don't think I will do a part 2 to this, but for now, this is just, my take on this. The reason why I'm doing this is because I'm just doing it because I think it's a different type of video, and I don't really see. I mean, some people give their opinions on these things, but I'm not saying I don't see, because a lot of people do, but I'm saying this is my version. This is my video. This is my version. I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me. But that's the whole point of YouTube is there's different perspectives. So you get to make your decision based on what you feel you agree with, or what you feel like sounds like it makes sense to you. So this is Steve's Art and Fun. Like, comment, and sub. Hit the bell. Leave a good comment. Hit the like, obviously. And share the video. And this is a thing I always say. If you're going to share these videos, share these in platforms. Share these on platforms and in networks, because I try to network at least like with people that are of the same understanding. Don't share this with people who are opposed to these views or these opinions, because that's pointless to me. You're just making my life harder if you do that. Like that just annoys me. If you're gonna share this video, share it with people who agree with what I'm saying. Share with people who are pro for trying to communicate with these things, not trying to necessarily hound them. You know what I mean? And I'll say this too, like, if there's people who necessarily are saying, "Oh, I'm going to do everything that you're saying you shouldn't do," well, I mean, if you're going to do that, then I guess that there's nothing. No one's going to. I can't stop you. No one can stop you. But I just mean, if you're going to do that, make sure you at least share it in those platforms. That's all I have to say. I'm just saying that because, like, this is not. The thing about me is, like, I take this seriously, so I'm not about EPS, you know what I mean? I'm not about all this clownery that's going on in modern day society, and these clowns, this stuff that's going on online, this clown stuff, because that's what half of it is. It's just clownery. It's just straight up clown business. Like, people just. And I'm not saying people that are talking about these things I'm talking about, because this is serious stuff, but I'm talking about people who, they think everything is just a joke, you know what I mean? Like, people who watch cryptid TikToks to get a laugh and think that, like, they don't even really believe this stuff exists. It's just, they're those types, those silly types, I'll just put it like that, alright, trying to be mean, but, like, they're those silly types who just think, like, oh, it's just so funny. Like, oh, wow, bro, that was so creepy. Did you hear about the... Oh, wow. It's like, and you're going to watch a cryptid TikTok, and then you have no actual appreciation for these cryptids, and realize that this is something that's a phenomenon, and this is something that is real and serious, and that is going on all over the world, and, you just want to, like, laugh at some trending nonsense that is just like, and then half of it sometimes is misinformation anyway, but you could never tell the difference, and you're just one of those. Now, if you want to watch this video or share it, whatever, you know what I mean? But all I'm saying is that I have a slight disdain for those type of people, you know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. In common, like, people in society, I have a lot of disdain for them anyway, because they're just... like I said, they don't take things seriously, and they don't know to take it seriously. That's the thing; they don't understand to take things seriously, and for me that's a huge problem. It's a serious problem. So this is your host Steve from the back, and until next time, have a good one.